Hello, my Facebook followers. This is Dr. Shelley Glover. It is Friday, September. Oh, good Lord. Is it third or fourth? Now I'm all lost in the sauce. Hold on. It's September 3rd still. And I am Dr. Shelley Coleman Glover. I am coming to you live on my Facebook page, Why Body Balance, discussing all things COVID, as we do every Friday. We've done since pretty much the beginning of COVID. And I am a board certified gynecologist. I specialize in anti aging wellness, minimally invasive surgeries, and a lot with hormone balancing. I have a master's in public health and maternal and child health, and have really been trying to come to you to give you guys some facts and some data every single week so that you are aware of what is going on with COVID, because there is, as we know, a lot of misinformation, a lot of misunderstanding as far as what we're seeing, what we're hearing, especially on social media. And it is leading, unfortunately, to a lot of heartache, a lot of death, a lot of illness. And so my goal is if I can get one person to understand something differently than they knew before, then that's one person more whose life may be altered to the positive. And so besides obviously discussing COVID and treating COVID patients within my own practice, I do still come every week and try to hopefully answer any questions that you have, but also to provide you with some information to help in this ongoing battle of living with COVID, which is what we are doing. We have to cope and live with it. It is not going away anytime soon, but we should not, in this day and age, have to hopefully die of it. And that's the sad, very depressing, very upsetting thing for myself and for many other healthcare professionals to see that this is something that's preventable, and that people are still becoming severely ill and dying because of their concerns about something that really is not a bad thing, and that would be getting vaccinated for the getting receiving the COVID vaccine, and the fact that there's so much misinformation and so much foreboding out there that we have people out there who, due to that, are afraid to get something that is way more benign than getting COVID. And so just to stress what you will hear me say over and over again, please be clear, because I'm seeing it, and it's just really sad that this is a whole different ball game. This is a whole nother war. The Delta variant is not the original coronavirus. The original coronavirus was bad enough, and now this new thing is even worse. And the problem is that it is way more contagious than the common cold. So we are talking about, you don't get the option of vaccine or no vaccine, and then COVID's over there. You're either gonna be vaccinated or you're gonna get COVID. And the question is just gonna be, how bad is the COVID that you get? Are you gonna be one of the lucky ones and you're not gonna get sick? Or are you gonna be one of the ones that is severely ill and has to get hospitalized? Or are you going to be one of the ones that's in the morgue? And that's all the vaccines are doing. The vaccine's goal is to keep you out of the hospital, out of the ICU, and out of the morgue. And it is very successful at that. Yes, you hear these little isolated things about people that get COVID who have already been vaccinated. That's going to happen. Refresher, refresher, refresher. The vaccine is not 100%. There's nothing 100% except that you got to pay taxes and you're going to die. And so we don't want you to die of COVID. That's the goal. That is the goal of the vaccine, is to keep you out of the morgue. And unfortunately, people are dying. They're dying every single day, and they are, the majority, 99% of these people are unvaccinated, and that is a travesty. So yes, there are people that, I always say, bad things happen to good people. There are people that are going to do everything right in life, and yes, something bad's going to happen. And so yes, are there going to be people that get vaccinated and do everything they're supposed to do, and they become severely ill and heaven forbid die? Of course they are. But as we discussed last week, you know that if you wear your seatbelt, your risk of dying in a major motor vehicle accident is significantly less than. That's why they have all the seatbelt mandates and all of that crazy stuff, and the cops hiding out to make sure you're wearing your seatbelt and all that stuff. It's not just because they have nothing better to do, even though when we get pulled over, we think that is. And so it's the same thing. You wear your seatbelt, but nobody's guaranteeing you 100% you have a seatbelt on, you're definitely not going to die in a car accident. No. Is your chance much less? Yes. you're not going to get propelled out that car. You get propelled out that car, your chance of dying is way higher. And so you do the best with what you've got, and you hope for the best, and if you're religious, you pray to God and you hope that God takes care of you. But this idea that it's that the vaccine doesn't help is really a very false misnomer. I quoted a study for you last week out of LA County where over 30,000 people were studied, and only 0.3% in the hospital and 0.3% in the ICU are vaccinated. So it's not vaccinated people. The majority, remember, we have now millions of people vaccinated, which is a blessing. And so when you're talking about millions and millions of people, if you have some outliers that fall out, that's expected once again. So the vaccines are not foolproof, but they do the best. They are way better than what you have out there sitting out there. Because, like I said, I'm sitting here in Central Florida, and I can tell you that especially here, like if you're not here in Florida, you may be okay for the moment because it's just not there yet. But when it gets to your state, if it's not rampant there yet, you can best believe it's going to plow right through. Same way if you don't have a huge vaccinated population, because COVID isn't looking, it doesn't care who you are. Like I said before, it doesn't care if you're black, brown, green, yellow, purple. It doesn't care if you're Democrat, Republican, undecided, whatever you call it, independent, Catholic, Muslim. It doesn't care. It is going to take you down. It is looking for a host, and you just have to figure out. And unless you have that Ouija board or that, a crystal ball, and for sure that if you get COVID, you're going to be one of the lucky ones. You have to assume that you're not. And like I said, I see 20-year-olds up there struggling for their lives. I treat patients. I have not gone a day where I'm not dealing with either somebody in quarantine because half the family's got it, and they're lucky and they don't. Even my vaccinated people, because of course, even if you're vaccinated, if you're living with unvaccinated people and they get COVID, you're stuck out too. Remember that. And so when you sit there and go, I can't get my family members to do this, you need to realize it is going to impact you. It does impact you. I have 2 staff members out, sitting at home, not getting paid because they have to quarantine because their unvaccinated family members are out with COVID and they live with them, and they can't bring that into my office because I can't expose my clients and the rest of my staff. So, and it's not just me. This is not just me. This is across the board with most businesses. So remember that when you think that, well, I've done what I can do, but I can't worry about my grown children, you need to worry about your grown children because they're still your babies. And it doesn't matter if they're 10, 20, 30, 40. If they're sitting up in the hospital fighting for their lives in COVID, you're their mom, you're their dad, and it's going to devastate you. And it creates in you stress, anxiety, insomnia, loss of job wages. So there's a lot that goes on when you have family members that are sitting there with COVID. It does affect you. And so I just wanted to put that tidbit out because, like I said, I see it. I talk about it every single day. I just had a conversation with a patient regarding it now, and right before I got on the call. So I sent somebody this week for monoclonal antibodies. Just one of our, acquaintances is coming home after being in the hospital for a week. And like I said, I just was Zooming a funeral for a 45-year-old man that died of COVID. And the funeral was being eulogized by the pastor who had just gotten out of the hospital after 7 days with COVID. So it's here, it's rampant in Central Florida, it's rampant all the way through Florida. And like I said, this is serious and you guys need to take it uh, very seriously. This is not a joke, it's not a test drive, it's not a hoax. And if you're unvaccinated, you're going to get it. It's just a matter of when. So you better take the time to really, really pay attention to what's going on because we see a lot of regret, a lot of, oh, wish, I wish, I wish, I wish. We have something called Camping World. It's a huge stadium, and they basically made it a monoclonal antibody infusion site. So for those of you that don't know, the monoclonal antibodies are a medication that's available to help combat um, early COVID if you get it, to keep you, if your symptoms are getting worse, to keep you from having to go into the hospital. If you do wait too late, you only get 9 days. And if you wait till you're really, really sick, it will not work. And I can tell you that, once again, I've treated people, sent them down there. Some of them get better, some of them don't. And so if you wait too long, you're too far down the train. It's not going to make a difference. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. But what I find very frustrating and bewildering to myself and to many of us, once again, healthcare professionals, is the fact that um, you have people over here that are scared of this vaccine that has basically done nothing wrong besides been the fodder for all the conspiracy theory people. But there is no documented data of any horrible wrongdoing of the vaccine. We know that vaccines are vetted out and that any really severe side effects will manifest within 6 weeks. They've done that over millions of years, over, well, not millions of years, but over years since vaccines have been in existence. That's why the studies are done over a 2 month time frame. The Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine have both been out now for over 9 months. And everyone who's gotten it, we don't glow in the dark. We don't have whatever it is. We don't have magnets glued onto us. We're not talking in tongues. You know, all the crazy things that are being said. But yet, we've got people that don't want to get this vaccine because they're concerned about what the vaccine's going to do to them. What they don't understand is that, once again, COVID does way worse. There's nothing. If you're worried about blood clots from the vaccine, that's one of the main things COVID does is cause blood clots. It's one of the main ways people die from COVID is from embolic event, a thromboembolic event. So if you're worried about this from the vaccine, you what are you doing? You're jumping from the frying pan into the fire by waiting to see what's gonna happen when you get COVID. You know, you're worried about side effects. COVID, loss of sense of smell, could be well over a year. I have clients that have had COVID for over a year. I had it a year ago. Still can't smell. Still can't taste. That's a bad side effect. You want that over concern about something that may or may not happen way down the line on a vaccine? You know, I mean, you're worried about whether or not the COVID vaccine um, that's never been proven to cause any issues with infertility in the American College of OBGYN. All the physicians within the American College of OBGYN are advocating it. You say that you want to listen to your doctor, but yet when we're telling you that this is something that you should do and this is safe for you, and we're telling you that pregnant patients are dying of COVID and their babies are dying, their babies going home from the hospital with their mother's dead. You worried about fertility? If you're dead, guess what? You don't get we see that the people with COVID, they're guys with COVID that have had COVID, and their sperm counts are down. So you worry about fertility with these vaccines, where there's been no documentation at all that there's any decrease in fertility. Whereas we know that if you get COVID, there are long-standing damages to pretty much every organ in your body. And guess what? That includes your ovaries, that includes the uterus. Yeah, we haven't seen any data yet, but it's coming. We know that we're going to see an increase in diabetes. We know we're going to see an increase in mental illnesses, probably, and Alzheimer's and things like that. If nothing else, just from the pure stress of having COVID and having to deal with COVID in your household. But then also we know that it's in the brain. It goes into the brain. And so what are going to be the long-term sequelae? So just remember, it's not the vaccine or I get to stay normal. It's the vaccine or I get COVID and I figure out what the side effects from COVID are going to be. Also, all these people clamoring down to get these monoclonal antibodies and ending up in the hospital and having to get steroids and IVs and all sorts of medications thrown at them. And you're scared of a vaccine, but you're not scared of all that? All these other things that have to be pumped into you to keep you alive, to keep you from dying from COVID? I don't know. You guys really need to kind of think. The people that are concerned about this vaccine really need to stop and think because I think you're way over here. It's like screaming zebra when there's a big apple sitting there, and you know you're worried about something that has nothing to do with the price of beans, has never shown anything negative, but yet you're willing to expose yourself to all these other things. And the reason why is because it's very easy to say what you're not going to do and that this is all a game and stuff like that when you're on the healthy side. But once you've got it and you start feeling ill, you get a preservation for life. And then suddenly all that high-handed talk and all that about what you're not going to do and da 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 da, it goes out the window because we all want to live. And so suddenly it's like, give me everything you possibly can. Who wants to, you'd rather take the risk of not getting vaccine and being put on a vent, having been stuck on a vent, and the long-term effects of that? I mean, come on, let's think about these things, people. You got to put things in priority because this is serious. It's not a joke. and people are getting ill and people are dying. And unfortunately, I can tell you that has finally been the wake up here. And it was very interesting because I've seen a big shift even in 2 weeks. Um, those that know me know that my thing, I don't go get my hair done every 5 seconds or anything like that. Like some people are like in the hair salon every week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. My thing is nails. I like to get my nails done, so I go to the nail salon pretty religiously every 2 weeks, and so that's my vector where I get to see the real world and what's going on. And as you know, my office is located in Lake County, which is 20 minutes west of Orange County, which is Orlando area. And so uh, Lake County has uh, a lower amount of has had, like, they don't have the bans. I mean, not the bans. They don't have the mask mandates and things like that. So it's usually been a little bit more um, less stringent in COVID practices, like as far as mask and stuff like that, than uh, Orange County. So when I went to get my nails done 2 weeks ago, besides the nail staff, there was myself and one other person wearing a mask. This is 2 weeks later, and everybody was wearing a mask except for one person. So I thought that was progress. I was really surprised to see that. I mean, that was a complete shift around. And it wasn't because there was a mask mandate on the door from the nail salon. So I thought that was where people are finally waking up and smelling the coffee. But the reason why they're waking up and smelling the coffee here in Central Florida, at least because that's what I can speak to, because that's where I live, is because it's going rampant. It's going rampant. It once it hits one person in the family, it's so contagious it just sweeps through the family, and so people are finally seeing it. The hospitals, like I said, are inundated. They have Advent Health System, which is one of the main systems, hasn't been doing elective surgeries for now, what, over well over a month, maybe 6 weeks. There's only one um, facility that I know that I have access to do cases that are elective at this point, besides the outpatient surgery centers. And so that's huge. That's huge, and that's a huge um, um, problem for my clients, and not just mine. For all the patients that are here in Florida. So we have to, every time I'm talking to a patient, things that I might have very easily been able to take care of, I have to sit there. We have to go, okay, well, we're now dealing with, there's a lot of cases of COVID. So, what's going to happen? Let's have a plan for if you need to go to the ER. What ER are you going to? What are we looking for? How bad is it going to be? Make sure you can call me first, because we really need to make sure that the illness is bad enough for you to present to that ER, because they're just inundated. Not because you shouldn't go to the ER, not because your disease is less important. The problem is that the ERs are just overwhelmed because they have so many COVID patients there. They're in the hallway, they're in the waiting rooms, they're everywhere because they're sick and they need to be taken care of. So it is changing. People are finally waking up and smelling the coffee. I'm sorry that it takes it hitting that close to home for people to realize it, but they are noticing that the reluctance to getting the vaccine has dropped. Like from January, 40% of adults were saying that they wouldn't get the vaccine. And then now it's down to 20%. So people are finally um, starting to wake up and see. And then also they had a poll that they did about whether or not you would give your child who was under the age of 17 the vaccine. And back in as early as just like back in June, there were 34% of parents saying no, there's no way on earth that they would ever give their child the COVID vaccine. And now that's down to 19%. So I think that people are finally kind of understanding that this is getting serious, and that this is something that it's not, unfortunately, going to be, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away, and that it is going to touch them. And so let's go over the numbers real quick. And I wanted to also just kind of give you a comparison to the numbers in September last year. So we could see, because, we get people out there going, it's just another phase. We knew it was going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But this is not. This is way worse. And you got to understand that. So looking at the cases worldwide right now, we're at 219, almost 220 million cases worldwide with 4.6 million deaths and 27.6% fully vaccinated across the world. And that's up by, it was about 25% last week. So we are making little baby steps. But remember, we're talking about, that's 5.41 billion people that have been vaccinated across the world. So there are a lot more people that need to be vaccinated, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Within the US, we are over 40 million cases of COVID now since the inception of COVID, and 663,000 people are dead from COVID here in the United States. There are 377 million people vaccinated, which is a blessing. That's 53.3% of the population. Excuse me, there's 377 million vaccines that have been given. Excuse me, correct that. Correct that. And that's 53.3% of people are fully vaccinated within the United States. I do expect that in about a month that number is going to hopefully jump significantly higher, because remember, when you are getting vaccinated, it's a two-step process if you're getting the Pfizer or the Moderna. And so there are a lot of people that are stepping up to the plate. They're doing about 400,000 vaccines a day. And so here in Florida. So I'm anticipating that what's going to happen is that, like I said, in about a month or so, we're going to see a big uptick in the number of fully vaccinated people. That is my hope, at least. And we're hoping that it's just not a little too late. We know that already we're behind the eight ball significantly. The Delta variant is 99% of all cases, and it's extremely aggressive. And the vaccines are not as sensitive for the Delta variant as they were for the original coronavirus. We know there are 5 variants out there, and so the more we lag, the less we get vaccinated, the more we're leaving ourselves open for the next, even more aggressive, more deadly variant to get through. So we have to get to that herd immunity. We just have to do it, ladies and gentlemen. As far as the rest of the worldwide cases, India, then Brazil, then Russia, then France, UK, and then Turkey. It's been the same lineup all along. And then once again, the deaths, the highest in Brazil, 582,000, then India, 440,000. Behind us, the United States still has the highest number of deaths, obviously, 663,000. When we look within the United States, California still has the most cases at 4.4 million and 66.1 thousand deaths. However, Texas is 3.7 million with 58,000, and then Florida is at 3.3 million, 46,000 as far as the cases versus the deaths. Within the United States, 177,000 new cases as of yesterday, and 1,565 deaths. So over 1,500 people died yesterday in the United States from COVID. Within California, there was 144 deaths. Texas's numbers much higher at 144. Florida's numbers are kind of screwy, but the average 7-day numbers have been about 244. And as I mentioned to you last week, it was the new cases was 1 in 4 new deaths. The highest was actually in Florida last week, and 1 in 4 of the new deaths was actually from Florida. And to put things in perspective, because we're always saying, well, what it was like before, there was at the highest point last year at this time, there were 277 deaths in a 7-day period in Florida. There currently are over 3,300 people in the intensive care units within the state of Florida. And that's, like I mentioned to you guys before, that's one of the things that's really concerning, is that with the Delta variant, these are younger people that are ending up in the hospital, and then more people in the ICU. So to put things in perspective, I pulled up, like I said, the data from a year ago pretty much. It was actually from 9/11. I thought it said 9/1. Didn't have my glasses on. So when we look at the cases in the United States on September 11th last year compared to September 3rd this year, there were only hold on, let me get it, 753,000 cases in California. There are 4.4 million now. Florida, there were 655,000 cases. We are at 3.3 million cases of COVID just in the state of Florida. So these numbers are, I mean, who thought this back then, right? Florida, the death toll was 12.3 thousand. California, it was 14,000. We're now at a death toll in Florida of 46,000. 46,000 from 14,000. Actually, excuse me, from 12,000 a year ago. Okay. And the the cases in in the hospital, like here in Florida, in one of the hospital systems, there were 111 in the hospital this time last year, with 11 in the intensive care unit. This time now we're at 634 people in the hospital with 94 in the ICU. And that's what I've been saying. The ICU numbers have never been this high. You can look at any other data you want and you can say, well, this is just a surge, and you can say the numbers are cooked up. You can say whatever you want, but nobody cooks up ICU numbers. Nobody cooks up hospital numbers. We don't get anything out of that. Don't believe any hoax or any conspiracy theory that you have that says that that's the case. There is no benefit whatsoever to a healthcare worker wanting somebody to be labeled with COVID. There is nothing that we get out of that, okay? It's actually a pain in the bejesus, because remember what has to be done, all the safety precautions that have to be done, all the money that has to be spent to take care of one COVID patient. Just to walk into the room of a COVID patient, you have to be fully donned. So all that, why on earth would anybody, if anything, if you wanted to entertain a conspiracy theory, it would be that there are COVID patients up there that people are saying aren't COVID patients, so they don't have to do all the extra work that it takes and spend all the money that it takes to take care of a COVID patient. So don't believe this crazy madness that people are up there labeling people with COVID that don't have it. That it just doesn't even make any sense. I know you guys are smarter than that, so please do not, don't let your brains get into a vegetative state where you just believe anything that somebody says, because that doesn't make sense. And these are hardcore data points that I'm giving you, not something that I just am spewing off the top of my head. This is something I see, I know, and these are hard data points, okay? And that's what you need to know. Where are your sources coming from? Who are these people that are telling you this? And what degree do they have? And what data points, where are they getting their data from? Because there's a lot of people out there that are professing themselves to be very knowledgeable and they aren't. Okay. Now, one of the good things are actually hospital numbers are actually down from last week. So we will have to see whether or not that is a false thing, or if we are actually seeing a decrease in the number of hospitalizations. That would be a blessing. The ICU numbers have not gone down, but the hospital numbers have taken a dip. We were at 760 in this particular hospital system that I'm quoting, down, and now we're at 630. So that's great. That's like 100 drop down. So we have to see, unfortunately, what are we doing? We're going into a holiday weekend. And what's going to happen? The people that aren't sick are going to get out there and they're going to try very hard to ignore COVID, because we don't want to deal with it, right? It's depressing. Nobody wants to have their mortality thought about. They don't want to think that they are not invincible. And so, the way to do that is to ignore it. So hopefully, once again, people are paying a little bit more attention and not just ignoring this, and we'll take some precautions over this holiday weekend, so that when we get to when I'm giving you data next week, and of course it's a 2-week lag, that hopefully we're not seeing a significant turn the other way on our data points. We shall see, shan't we? So I just wanted to I've had some questions about some of the variants, the other variants. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that next week, and we can go into some detail on the different variants. My thought process is that the Delta variant is 99% of the cases here in the United States right now. So once again, why are you going to worry about that zebra down the line? Why are you going to worry about the Lambda? Why are you going to worry about the Mu variant when you've got Delta sitting up here? And so, yes, there's some other ones out there. Yes, they are observing them. Yes, they may become a problem in the future, but we've got enough of a problem right now. Let's work on taking care of what we can with the Delta variant before we go worrying about something else that's out there. I mean, if you're worried about it and you're unvaccinated, get vaccinated. That's all you need to be doing. And so the more people we get, the greater that herd immunity, the better the chances are of defeating all of the variants. And that's what's important. The other thing is that, of course, is big is the third vaccine. And so basically, um, there is some, the recommendation out there from the CDC is that for certain individuals that the third vaccine may be um, will hopefully be something to help improve their immunity. And it's available if you've gone more than 8 months from when you got vaccinated. And so it's supposed to be rolling out September 15th, which is actually in less than 2 weeks. Yep, I do the math. Actually, it is 2 weeks. And no, I can do the math. It's less than 2 weeks. And the but as far as who's going to be able to get it, is stuff that's still getting teased out. But like I said, so basically people that are considered high risk, and that probably is going to include all the health professionals. I did receive Moderna, the two Moderna vaccines, and I don't know. I mean, I plan to get a third vaccine. As I guys have told you guys before, with my master's in public health, I have my objections to getting the third vaccine are more that I want everybody to get the first two kind of thing. So that's my hi Tanita. So that's my thing is like I just feel like I want I I I I have problems with making sure that the world is vaccinated. So that's just, that's my master's in public health. That's my public health kind of thing. So yes, I will, if if the data shows that the vaccines we know that the third vaccine appears to be helpful for people that are immunocompromised and have weakened immune systems, like especially the organ transplant people, especially obviously our cancer patients, our HIV patients, people like that. So we know that, and so then it's who else, right? And so I think that it's probably going to be fairly soon, something that is available to everybody. I mean, I'm postulating, I don't know for sure, and that most healthcare workers will consider getting that done because we are exposed on a constant basis to obviously many clients and patients. But that's kind of where I'm. So if anybody wants to know if I've had a third vaccine, the answer is no. And do I know people that have gotten a third vaccine? Yes. And have they had any problems? No. Arm hurts more. Hey, arm hurt when you got it done the first two times. That's okay. And so to me, you want to have some kind of response after you get vaccinated. That's the whole point. That shows you that your immune system is actually trying to kick some butt. And so I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with getting sick. I don't want to be on my deathbed, of course, from a vaccine. But the bottom line is, even if if you get sick, that's your immune system fighting and to getting your body prepared so that if it sees COVID, it's going to kick COVID's butt. So I don't think that it's a bad thing. And you just have to once again look at that and realize that if you get sick from the COVID vaccine, whether it's the first one, second one, or if you get the third one, that's a good thing. And that whatever you would get if you get COVID is going to be 20 billion times worse. And that's what you got to remember. So you get sick for 1 to 3 days. There's an end in sight. You get COVID, you don't know when that end is going to be. You don't. You don't know. And so just remember that it's vaccinated or COVID. It's not going to really that in between. We get to go ahead and live our life as if there's no COVID in the world. That's pretty much not going to be there. So make sure you're making your decisions wisely. As I said, it's here in Florida. Obviously, Ida. My heart goes out to anybody that had to deal with the devastation of Ida. We were blessed here in Florida that it kind of side skirted us last week. We get enough of hurricanes, we get enough natural disasters. So, and the hurricane season is not over. So don't, we count ourselves blessed for the moment, but we know that we're only one step away from, a horrible hurricane at any given time. But I do know that there was a lot of destruction in New Orleans and in Louisiana, and of course it marched itself up the coast and created a huge amount of destruction. I know New York got hit really hard last week. So, definitely heart going out to everyone who is healing from that. And of course, just from a COVID standpoint, very concerning because once again, if you're being displaced out of your home, especially if you have to end up in shelters and all of that, that is definitely a place where COVID could once again go rampant. And so definitely want to keep the natural disasters at bay too. So having a chat with the big man up above about all that kind of stuff. So anyway, as always, guys, I am your health is my primary concern. I just want you to take it seriously. If there's anything I can do, direct message me. If you have any particular questions that you would like me to address, either on the Facebook Live or if you want to discuss in personal, if you would like to do a telehealth conversation with me, just to say, I want to pick your brain about the vaccine or whether I should get it or not, or I have COVID, I have early COVID and I'm concerned, or I have COVID and I'm starting to get sicker and I need to, what is the next step? How do I keep myself out of the hospital? One more plug before I get off the phone. Of course, we keep hearing about the ivermectin. We keep hearing about the zithromycin and stuff like that. Please, please, please do not buy anything off of the internet. Please. Please, 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 please. You do not know what you're getting. And once again, here you saying you're concerned about this damn vaccine on here, that at least you know where it's coming from and you know that it's regulated. And then you're willing to grab something off the internet or from an animal feed store that you have no idea how to use and just take it and put it in your body and have no idea what the side effects are going to be. So please, please be careful. Please don't, above all, do no harm. And so please don't self-treat. If you need to see someone and you cannot get into your primary care doctor, by all means, I'm here, I'm available. If I can find a spot for you, I will. And I tend to try to find a spot for our COVID patients because I understand the fear, I understand the anxiety. It's real, it's palpable, it's scary as crap when you get diagnosed with COVID, whether or not you are healthy or not, whether or not you, because you're always waiting for that other shoe to fall. You know that you're not out of the woods until you're out of the woods. And so it is definitely a scary thing. So I'm here for you if you need me. And so I want you guys to have a wonderful, you can still have a wonderful holiday weekend and just be safe about it. Okay. And as always, I will see you guys next Friday at 4 p.m. Take care. I'll see you later. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.